On this episode of the Sports Opinions Podcast, 2020 Olympic hopeful long jumper Corey Crawford joins the show as we talk about his career over at Rutgers and his future plans as a long jumper. A little bit of Cleveland Browns talk, and then we talk some NBA, MLB, and tie it all in with a little soccer talk in the end. And without any further ado, cue the intro. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. With me today is, interestingly enough, a guy that I used to track a little bit when he was running over at Rutgers. I'm a Jersey boy. He's a Jersey boy. Went to the school of New Jersey and was an absolute dominant long jumper. He is Corey Crawford. He is a 2020 Olympic hopeful, currently training over at the Olympic Training Center in beautiful Chula Vista, California, and Big Ten champion in the long jump. It is graduate season. What's going on, Corey?
What's going on, man? First of all, I must say, well done on the intro. Well done on the intro. I have not listened to a podcast. I'm a total newbie, but I will say, well done. I like it. I like the intro. I like the rundown. I was a journalism major myself. So, I have a little bit of background in it, but I like it, man. I like where this is going.
So immediately throwing the pressure on me right away, dropping the journalism major stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to judge the hell out of you if you suck at this. That's basically what you just said to me.
That's fair, dude. That's fair. You know what? I think I really think this is my first podcast, interview. So for me, I'm new to it as well.
Well, I mean, you deserve it. You've had a hell of a career so far. It's always fun when one of our own from Jersey, and especially a Rutgers boy, now has the chance to compete at a pro level. And I want to talk a little bit about your career because you had a hell of a career over at Rutgers. And even in high school, you were an absolute monster, 4-time All-American, state champion there. And I don't know if people understand our jumping tradition, our running tradition in Jersey.
Yeah.
Is almost second to none. The great Carl Lewis coached in Jersey for the longest time.
Oh yeah, man. There's so much exceptional talent in the state of New Jersey. Like if you just look at currently going on right now, you have Katora Orji, who's just been absolute dominant in the women's triple jump. I mean, yeah, you have guys like Carl, you have, Olivia Baker, you have all these people. Cheserek is from Jersey. So yeah, Jersey, we are very proud of the talent that we produce. We're a very small state. We don't get a lot of love. So, of course, when there's someone coming out of Jersey, you always got to show love, for sure.
Without a doubt. And I went back and actually coached over in Manchester for a little while. When I was done, I finished at Marist in 2011. I completely finished my undergrad in 2012. I had to stay a super senior year for all you super seniors out there.
Nice.
And then I came back to Jersey a little. I coached a little at Manchester, and we had a kid by the name of Mason Jones, and I think he ended up finishing third or second in the triple jump my second year of coaching there, which was fun to go to the Meet of Champions and watch him do that. I'd imagine that we crossed paths because I'm pretty sure you were probably at Meet of Champs, probably your sophomore junior.
Yeah.
Were you not?
Yeah. I was. I didn't even do track until my junior year of high school.
Wow.
So I was a big baseball guy. Baseball and soccer were my two main sports. So I would do winter track, but I did it my freshman year and I hated it. So I quit. And I kind of had a falling out with the coach. I just wasn't really into it. So I was really into baseball. And then my junior year, we had a really loaded senior squad for varsity. So I was on the fence if I was going to play or not. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try track. I've always been one of the fastest kids on the teams that I play on. So let me just go try this. And yeah, I had a blast. Obviously at first I was really bad, just like anybody else starting out in the sport. But I actually got with a guy named Brad Vaccaro. Shout out Brad Vaccaro. He really changed my whole type of the way I look at track and field and the way I train. He really kind of got me in the weight room. He got me strong. And yeah, that just really kind of took it to the next level from that junior to senior year. That's really when I kind of hit that hit that improvement, which is what I was looking for.
And it's always funny because everyone, before they go out for track, I've always been a little bit of a weirdo, and I liked running forever. When I played football, did soccer, and you know how coaches normally are like, go hit a lap, and you're supposed to hate it. I loved it. I was that kid. So they couldn't punish me that way. So
Yeah.
I was the weirdo. I'd enjoyed it. And when I got to the middle school level, I like immediately jumped into running track. I played soccer. I didn't do XC for a little bit, but immediately jumped into track. And it's always funny to see kids, and you probably remember this vividly. When you first start doing it, it's like, oh, it's running. I've been running my whole life. This is easy. And then you start to get your form critiqued. And then you realize that running competitively is different than running around your backyard. You get tired a lot quicker for some reason. It's weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, like, personally, I don't really like to run. So, like, anything
you're a
over
long jumper,
one lap, like, anything over one lap, I'm out. Like, I get bored. I get, like, super fatigued. And I'm just like, why am I doing this? So I always stuck to the 100, 200, and 4x4. I would never go more. I had to run 1 800 at Penn Relays once because we had a kid get hurt. So I had to run the 800 once. And literally as I crossed the finish line, and I'm running in front of 30,000 fans now, granted it's Penn Relays. So I'm running around, and I was dreading that second lap so bad. And that whole second lap, I was thinking, this is like, this really sucks. Like, I've never done this before. And this is going to be the last time I ever do it because I'm a short distance speed burst guy. And, yeah, really I started to get more into the jumps after my senior year or after my junior year, excuse me, because, like, I was always fast and I could always kind of jump. But learning long jump and high jump and all that is so technical. So it took me quite some time to really kind of, like, come into my own and kind of, like, grow into my body too.
Yeah, coaching at the high school level, and then I did some coaching over at Marist as well, and I helped out with the jumpers. And just the technical aspect is insane because just one little – you guys are kind of crazy in the sense where it's kind of like golf. If it's not exactly the same every time, and it never is, it's completely off. So you're now you went through, had a great career at Rutgers, and culminating it with a Big Ten championship, which was – unbelievable. Real quick, talk to me about how that felt winning your conference, especially in a conference as competitive as the Big Ten.
Yeah, so that was really like the icing on my cake for my whole collegiate career. That's the whole reason. So I stayed at college 6 years.
Van Wilder, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I pulled the double senior card, but I had came into Rutgers having knee surgery. So I fractured my kneecap in half my senior year, like summer of high school. So I was coming into Rutgers in a straight leg brace. I couldn't bend my leg for 13 weeks. I was told by a doctor I would never jump again. And obviously I went to another doctor because he was old school. But I had split my kneecap right down the middle. Like, it was a bad injury. I had to battle back. I was in a straight leg brace, like I said, for 13 weeks. Like, my leg atrophied so much.
Wow.
To where really kind of like my sophomore, junior year, like, I was really kind of getting my feet under myself. But I was lucky enough to compete in 3 conferences. I competed in the Big East, which I never won a Big East championship. And then I competed in the American Athletic Conference. That was our like tweener year between Big East and Big Ten.
Yep.
And so I was able to win that conference. And then I went to the Big Ten, and then I was able to win that conference as well. So, and me growing up as a huge Ohio State fan, I always like looked at the Big Ten like, oh my God, like, it's the Big Ten. You got Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin. Like, these are the power schools. You know, it's a real Power 5 conference. I mean, Big East was good, but the Big Ten is a whole nother level. It's a whole nother beast. So having the opportunity to just compete in the Big Ten, I'm very, very lucky because that was the very first year we were in it. So, and that was my 6th year. So I'd really milked it. I'd really milked my time there.
Tell me they were calling you grandpa at that point. I know I would be calling you grandpa.
No, I mean, granted, like, think I'm 23 years old, and like, kids are going to the bars. I'm like 24, 24 years old, and like, kids are turning 21, and like, they're like, oh my God, like, let's go to the bar. But I'm like, no, like, that's like stuff you do at 21. I've been.
Your boys coming back for alumni weekend, and you're like, yeah, I got class, man.
Yeah, and like, and then like, all of my friends are gone. All of my friends leave and go and get real jobs, and I'm still jumping in a sand pit. I'm like, okay, like, this is cool. But I was fortunate to get my master's degree. Like, I was fortunate to make more friends as I went on, more like underclassmen. But yeah, and I was also able to get my GA. I did a little grad assistant work with Coach Farrell, who's over at Rutgers. So I was very fortunate to do that because, you know, coaching is something I want to get into later in life. So that was a good experience as well. So honestly, like, yeah, I was called grandpa and I was made fun of, but I would never trade those six years for the world.
That's, you know, it's just something that comes with the territory, especially being an athlete. If you're not getting ribbed and the guys and girls don't like you, that's kind of just how it works. Now, before we move on from Rutgers, we talked a little before this. Me and you have a mutual friend, and I got to give a shout out to him. Monroe Kearns.
Hard body.
Oh, man, hard body.
Hard body.
Went to Rutgers. You knew him at the beginning of your Rutgers career. Me and him competed back in Jersey, and we became pretty good friends just from being competitive on the track. And I got the best of him my junior, his sophomore year. I won the county and conference. But then my ankle injury, now I didn't know I had a fractured ankle. I fractured it in 7th grade. I didn't find out until going into senior year. So it's insane just to think I ran on it from 7th grade to junior year without knowing. But I had that. And then come my senior year, Monroe had passed me leaps and bounds already. I was nursing an injury, basically. He was a monster. And I just had to give him a shout out because I remember watching him while I was at Marist competing. He was running over at Rutgers, just improving. I don't even know what his PR ended up being in the 8.
I think
I know it was fast as hell.
I think he ran sub 150 when it was all said and done, which for a guy his size, like, let me just kind of put this into perspective. He could start at middle linebacker for the Giants. Like, that's what this guy looked like for all the viewers who obviously don't know who Monroe is. He was just jacked. Like, he looked like a discus thrower. So it was really funny to watch him go out and run the 800 with these skinny kids. And he would muscle them up. Like, he would body them. Like, he would body them. And it was so, like, I've never seen a mid-distance guy run like that. And he was just a legend. Like, his status is legendary at Rutgers forever, for sure.
Now, I'll give someone a nice comparison here because if any of the people that listen consistently, I had Maurice Green on last week, legendary American sprinter.
I saw that.
Maurice Green
on your Twitter.
Was jacked. Yep. He was a jacked sprinter. That is Monroe as an 800-meter runner. I think it's a good comparison.
Exactly. And, like, sprinters, you need to be jacked. You really use your arms quite a bit. And, like, for the 800, I've never seen anyone with any bit of, like, tone or definition or any type of muscle mass. And, like, for him to go sub 150 or, like, around 150 is just highly impressive. So shout out to Monroe Kearns, hard body.
Yeah, shout out Monroe. Had to give you a shout out. I hope everything's doing well, man. We haven't talked to him forever, but I hope everything's doing well. Now, moving on to the rest of your career. You are currently a pro athlete. Pinch yourself every once in a while and be like, is this real? Do you do that every once in a while? Like, I'm a pro athlete. I'm living the dream.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, and, like, I never take it for granted. And, like, where I train and, like, my training partners that I have really kind of make it all worthwhile because, like, track and field is a great sport and everything. And, like, I love it and I love winning and I love competing. But being around people who also share that same energy, I'm so blessed and fortunate that I've been able to be out at Chula Vista, a.k.a. Paradise, for 3 years. So, yeah, I mean, every day you wake up, there's not a cloud in the sky and it's 80. So, like, you start to take that for granted. You start to –
Outdoor track is every day.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, of course. So that was a big change from Rutgers, obviously.
Yep.
We have 7-month winters, and it's a grind. It's a grind. But, yeah, like being a pro athlete, I never thought ever that track would lead me to this. But, you know, through a lot of hard work and a lot of good connections and people who really wanted to see me succeed, you know, I'm in this position, and I'm just kind of riding it out.
Now, you told me earlier, I think last week, or we talked a little bit, you sustained an injury. First of all, what's the status of the injury? And second of all, what is obviously your goal is Olympics by 2020. What is the path that you're seeing? Are there any meets that you are eyeing already that we can kind of tune in, see what your stats are, see what you're going to be, and what is the Olympic standard currently right now?
So the Olympic standard currently right now is 8:19. So that's like 26 feet.
Yeah, I was going to say for the Americans out there, you got to give that.
For the Americans, I'm gonna get as accurate as I can. It's like 26 feet, 10 inches.
Okay.
Give or take. So, yeah, and that's something that obviously that's something that everybody eyes up come the Olympic year.
And remind everyone
Because
out there, what's your personal best again?
my personal best is 8.22, which is
You got it in your
26.11
back
and
pocket.
3/4. Yeah, well, I've jumped that in my life, but you have to do it during the Olympic year.
Yep.
So everyone's eyeing, and everyone has standards that they have to hit for their event. So really, that's something that we eye up, and it really is pretty simple. Go out and hit the standard, and then get to Olympic trials and then compete. So that's really kind of what my timeline is like right now. Obviously I jumped 8.19 last year, but you have to do it in 2020. So, that's definitely something and a goal that, I want to achieve. But injury wise, I had strained / pulled my groin hip flexor in my right leg. So that's my penultimate leg, and that's my swing leg. So I take off on my left foot, and my right foot swings very aggressively. Obviously, you drive your knee through the takeoff. And I was doing that at practice, drove my knee, and I heard a pop, and my whole groin tightened up. That went up into my abs, and it was extremely painful. I have hurt that before at Rutgers. Hadn't heard it in the longest time. And in this sport, if you don't check every box before you practice, something could go. So it's kind of like starting a car. You got to change the oil. You got to make sure the gas is right. You got to make sure the tires are pumped up every day. So it is an extremely tedious sport, but that's something that I'm getting better with every day. Something that I learn, I'm still learning. I'm 27. Like, I've been a 3-year pro athlete, but you still learn every day. Like, you just got to be taking in the information.
It's funny you mentioned that, because as I coached at Maris, I coached this 400-meter hurdler, and he was extremely talented, but he definitely pushed back, and it was his personality. He was very pushed back. He knew a lot. He was very technical, and I would go to him. I'm not going to mention his name because I love him, but I would say to him, what am I? And he'd say, your coach. I'd say, oh, why do those exist? And he'd look at me and smile, and he'd go, if athletes knew everything, would we exist? He would go, no, coach. I'm like, so you're going to listen to me. So it's funny you mentioned that, because, you do always have to be learning in every sport. And I think that's kind of a life lesson right there. Just always stay learning. Don't ever know everything. You know nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's still little things that I learned from my training partners and my coaches. And, like I said, I've been long jumping now 10 plus years. So it's still, it's still a sport that, you never have it mastered. You never master the sport unless you jump 30 feet, which, okay, cool. Like, show me someone who's jumped 30 feet, or show me someone who has perfect run form. Like, there's always room for improvement. So there's always room to learn. Like, if you stop learning, you're just going to stop improving, straight up.
But you know what, though? The competitor in us, you jump 30. All right, give me 31. Give me 30.1. Give me 30.1. Give me 30.2. You always want more.
Now,
I got to bring it up to you. I brought it up to Mo last week, and it's funny talking to trackies back to back, especially two sprinters. I think you're going to be down for this. We had the idea, and I brought it up to him, of the Diamond League exists, but the Diamond League is such an exclusive and difficult league to get into. I don't consider it a real league for track. We had Tracktown USA Summer Series, which was short-lived, but I thought was fun. Yeah. I just think track and field right now misses the dual meet element, where in high school, dual meets were fun, and they were competitive, and there wasn't much better than watching a high jump that, usually the field events went longer, and sometimes a high jump would decide a meet, or the 4x4 would decide a meet, and it was fantastic. Down as a pro to sit there and represent the California Crush against I think I brought up the Houston Jack Runners or something like that. Wearing on in that and being competitive pro athletes in dual meets. I feel like that would be awesome.
Yeah, and they were on the right page with the Tracktown series. We were all really excited about it.
I didn't like that it was a big invite, though. I liked the dual meets. I didn't like it was like big invites everywhere. I thought that kind of took away. It just made it feel like another pre-classic every single time. Yeah.
Well, the sad part about this sport is it's so political.
Yep.
So you have to really know people, and, you really have to have the right type of connections, but you also have to be an elite performer, which all of those athletes were. So I feel like they were getting the right athletes, but the format of the meet, I will say one thing that I love that they did is they brought the spectators onto the track.
Oh yeah.
To watch triple jump, to watch long jump, to watch high jump, because you don't really get a sense, especially on TV. It's just embarrassing because you don't know what's going on.
Nope.
Like when you're there in person and like you can see somebody triple jump 59 feet or 58 feet with just like 3 steps. You're like, how is that possible?
Yeah, it's something
Or
special.
or like pole vault. Like, you watch someone go over a 19-foot bar. You're like, that is way more impressive than sitting up way up in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have that depth perception. I feel like field events are very depth perception.
Oh yeah.
And this is something that me, like Ryan Krauser, Darrell Hill have talked about, is letting spectators and fans try the events as well, just to see how difficult they are. Now, obviously, that's not, your average track meet, but I just feel like there has to be some there has to be some thinking outside of the box with our sport, because it just hasn't caught on with the
kind of like pump, pass, and kick, but for track.
Yeah, exactly. Like try to get the fans involved, like try to get the fans engaged, like bring them down on the track, like, have them meet the athletes, like, just try to interact with them. So one of the examples is, I don't know if you ever heard of like the Highland Games.
Yep.
So it's like these guys in plaid skirts throwing hay bales over their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's a huge event. And like, I have some training partners who compete in the Highland Games, and they get paid really well, like probably better than us.
Wow.
And like there's thousands of people that go to these Highland Games, and they drink beer and they have fun, and it's like a lively environment, and they play music, and that's missing in track big time. I think it's a very old way of thinking. It's kind of they're just kind of stuck in their ways of track and field. But I feel like Tracktown was close, and then they had the ATL too. They had the American Track League, which was in Atlanta, which was cool, and they had a couple meets. But I just feel like it's not connecting with the fans on another level. I feel like street meets are super cool. We need to do more street meets and we have to do this in America, because when we go over to Europe, it is a different world.
Yeah,
They
Mo
actually
mentioned that
care.
too.
They show up. Yeah. Oh my. Like
He said it's on
like,
TV. He said it's
yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. And obviously, they don't have the NFL to go up against. They don't have the NBA. They don't have
You
the
know what though?
MLS.
They have soccer, they have rugby, and they have cricket.
Exactly.
And you love
And tennis and all that stuff.
Oh
is
yeah.
huge. Yeah. So there's no excuse. I mean, obviously in America, it's extremely competitive. We love our football. We love our basketball. We love our baseball. We love our NASCAR. Like track is way down the list when you look at most popular sports in America. But that's not an excuse to not try things out of the box. You got to start thinking differently. Like, how can we get fans involved? Obviously with the Olympic year coming up, I feel like now is the time to start that conversation, to like think about how we can capitalize after the Olympic year and like really get athletes more exposure. There's no exposure like for these athletes here. Like Ryan Krauser, for example, he walks around in America and like nobody, obviously nobody knows who he is because he's just like another 6'7" dude. He goes to Europe and he's swarmed. He can't leave his hotel. Like he's like an actual celebrity. And like, I just feel like that's something that's been missing in the sport in America for sure.
So when me and Mo talked about it, we both decided that we all need to pool the billionaires that we know together to get this going. So how many billionaires do you know to contribute? Because me and him have zero.
Well, I met Mark Cuban once. He has really large, hairy ears. That's the only thing I remember from it. But
I also feel like he's the guy crazy enough to invest in this, which isn't bizarre, but I feel like he is a guy crazy enough to do it.
Yeah, you would definitely need a lot of money, obviously, for like TV and rights and, promotions and stuff like that. But I mean, people are into, just a one-on-one race. Like that is like probably the first, things that humans ever competed in, ever. Is like, okay, like let's just like race to here. Like it still holds its value. Every 4 years, everyone tunes in to see if Bolt can win, or people get really into track and then they love it, and then it goes away. It's kind of like soccer in this country. we don't really like soccer. And then every year the World Cup comes, we love the women's team, and then they go away for 3 years and then they come back. So that's kind of like where we're at with track being mainly an Olympic sport. I mean, I would like to see them break more into the professional, because you start to feel like you're not a professional, that you're more an Olympian. Now, granted, the Diamond League is phenomenal. What they do over there, over in Europe, I think that's great. But we need something here in the States,
I think we're going to eventually get it. I'm going to continue to push for it here on my little bubble here, and hopefully it extends out to somewhere. But we're going to watch you. You're going to be an Olympian. I'm confident of that. So you have the support completely here from Sports Opinion, small little spot here in Poughkeepsie. We got you. You're getting there. But we are going to move on. We're going to jump into football. You mentioned it. We do love our football in America. And if people that frequently listen, you might hear some deja vu, because I'd be remiss not to mention that I had your dad, Jay Crawford, on this show. And you guys are both Browns fans. You're both Ohio. And I have a lot of Ohio, especially Cleveland fans, coming on this show for some reason. I don't know why, but I love it. And I love it because you guys are super passionate. We're going to talk about your Browns real quick. There's a lot of hype. Hype for the Browns. And I'm a Jets fan. We started Baker Mayfield, and I'm still hyped for it.
That's right.
Are you buying into the hype right now?
Obviously, there's a lot of hype, and I've been at training camp the last couple of weeks. So, I'm seeing it all unfold, and that's where I have to pinch myself.
Have you met the guys?
I've met Jarvis Landry. I haven't met Odell. He gets swarmed anywhere he goes. So I haven't really met them, but watching them on the field is just it's like the offensive side of the ball is going to be electric. I think they'll struggle early because the offensive line is pretty bad. The offensive line is probably like a C-. It's bad, and you're only as good as your line.
Well, you lose the best tackle in football last year. So, Joe Thompson is the best left tackle ever to play the game, possibly.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, they definitely are going to take their bumps and bruises. I don't think they're going to be, a 12-win team. I don't think they'll be as good as everybody hypes them up to be. But all of their players, all of their studs are 25 and younger. So this team is not built for next year, may not even be built for the next year. They're built for 5-6 years down the road. Now, holding those guys through contract will be very difficult, near to impossible. But, having all this young talent and, having all this, guys who are signed through rookie deals. Baker's a rookie or was a rookie. You got Chubb, you got Denzel Ward, you got Myles Garrett. These are all young guys. So I don't think next year they're going to just take off like everyone thinks they will. I think it will take a little bit of time. But I think by mid-season form, when they get Kareem Hunt back, and they got Hunt and Chubb late in the fourth quarter, I don't see a lot of teams stopping them offensively. Defensively, we'll struggle a little bit in the secondary. But you never know, man. Football, and that's why I love football, is because you never know. Basketball, I know. I can tell you who's going to go to the playoffs next year. I can tell you who's probably going to go to the finals. It's very anticlimactic. So that's why, this year with the Browns and all the hype, we've been through a lot of hard times. So, I mean, think about it. Just last year, they were coming off a 0-16 season, and they were talking about opening up the coolers to drink a beer, popping open the vault after their first win. So that was just 1 year ago. So to say they're a 12-win team is bold, for sure.
It's funny. It's deja vu. It really is, because you sound a lot like your dad talking about the Browns. Very level-headed, very optimistic, but the analysis is there. And then when you talk about basketball, he hates it too at this point. It's hilarious. I talked to him, I talked to him before the finals, and he was saying it doesn't matter. Why does it matter? It
doesn't, because the NBA is a circus. It's honestly turned into just an unpredictable circus that if you're not a major market team, if you're not a team that draws players, LA just drew the 2-3 best players in the world.
Hey, my Nets made some moves. I'm happy with my Nets.
Well, you know what? Your Nets have a chance maybe next year.
Yeah.
But teams like Cleveland, where nobody wants to free agency, like Anthony Davis doesn't want to play in Cleveland. He wants to go to LA.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong with the sport. You never will see that in football. Tom Brady's not going to leave after losing in the Super Bowl like Kevin Durant did. Be like, I'm going to go to the team that beat me. No. The NFL is a well-oiled machine. The NBA is a circus. I've been saying that for years. And I'm also bitter because I'm a Cavs fan, and I was a LeBron fan. I still am a LeBron fan.
You got to be. He made his promise. He left. He came back and he delivered.
Yeah. Deep down inside, he'll I'll always be a LeBron fan. But
he's gonna get a statue.
He was dating Cleveland. He kept signing 1-year deals, threatening to leave, which kind of pissed Cleveland fans off. Like, you just won a championship. You have Kyrie Irving sign a 3-year deal. In hindsight, it's a good thing he didn't, but he was dating us yearly, holding, just saying, well, I may leave, I may come back. And then he signs a 4-year deal with LA. So he married LA, dated us on the second half of it. Obviously the first 7 years he was here, he was amazing. But that's just kind of my thoughts on the NFL, NBA.
There's no bitterness there for LeBron at all.
Nah, LeBron did what no Cleveland athlete has done in the last 53 years. So he lifted the curse. Him and Kyrie. It wasn't just LeBron. Kyrie played a huge part. Kevin Love played a huge part. All those guys played a huge part. But, yeah, so we're forever indebted to LeBron, for sure.
So I have to ask you, bringing it back to the Browns, you're watching them in training camp and you're kind of doing your analysis. Did it cross your mind that you could beat every single one of these guys in a race?
No, I definitely can't. And I was talking to my dad. Like, I was at training camp, and obviously, obviously I'm injured right now, so my groin is sore. Mm-hmm. But, like standing there watching the football, like, I'm not somebody who watches sports. I want to get out there and play. So yeah. I was like, I had turned to my dad. I was like, damn, like, I want to get out there and run some routes right now. And he just laughed. He's like, okay. And then we started picking off guys who would beat me in a race. Now, if this is a 40, a lot of guys will beat me because I'm not the guy who gets up to speed super fast. I need a little bit of time to get going. So in 100, I feel like I could beat a lot of people. Maybe Denzel Ward would get me. He ran a 4.2 at the combine.
How about Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, like Kareem Hunt. Like Odell's got blazers. I would love to race Odell because I feel like we'd be pretty even.
What about
Jarvis? Jarvis isn't extremely fast. He's just highly efficient.
Because Odell has bounce. Do you think with some technique work, Odell could be a national caliber jumper or triple jumper?
Oh, my goodness. Well, his mom was a triple jumper at LSU.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, he's done touchdown celebrations for the Giants. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Like, he went in the end zone. He actually rocked back. He did a whole triple jump. You can just look it up.
Which has the coach,
a whole rock back.
Football coach, I'm pissed.
He did the left, right, left, and landed it. And yeah, like he did a whole triple jump.
He probably did like a 48 without trying.
Yeah, seriously. He honestly is one of the greatest athletes that plays sports today. He can do so much. He just last week at Browns camp, they were punting the ball, and he's standing on the goal line catching it one-handed, and then punting it back to the punter, the same distance that the punter punted it, like a pro punter. Like, he's carrying it 50-60 yards in the air. So, like, the guy's a freak athlete. He can do basically anything he wants. I'm sure he'd be good at baseball. I'm sure he'd be good at high jump, triple jump, anything he wants to do. So, yeah, definitely for sure. I feel like he'd definitely be good at, high jump, triple jump, long jump, really, like, whatever he sets his mind to.
So that's the gauntlet right there. Odell, we're challenging you. Once the Olympics comes around, take a little bit off in the off season, go jump in a few meets, make the Olympics, and then win an Olympic gold for us, dude. Do both.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Hey, what's his name from the Niners?
Goodwin. Marcus.
Goodwin, yeah. Marquise Goodwin.
Goodwin, who's unbelievable. Insanely fast. He does that.
Insanely fast. Yeah, and that's a guy who's jumped, 840. That's a guy who's jumped, 27 and a half feet. Like, he's a prime example of just what talent is in the NFL and, like, how that can cross play the track. Because a lot of these guys ran track in high school.
Well,
Like,
the other notable guy
the
was
majority of them did.
Rocket Ismail was a 10 flat sub 10 100-meter runner that also found success as a great wide receiver in the NFL.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it just translates so much to that sport, to that straight line speed, that where, you know, I mean, Denzel was a standout. He jumped 24 feet in high school, you know? Like, I mean, yeah. And, like, these are guys who probably do the sport, you know, 2 or 3 years, you know? So they're just scratching the surface, and then they quit. So, yeah, no.
Because there's no money in track. Track league, let's do this.
Exactly.
So your expectations for the Browns, I'm saying I think that they're going to win the division. They are the front runners, just looking not only their talent level and what they have, but what the rest of the division has. I don't believe in Lamar down in Baltimore. I need to see him throw a football that isn't a duck first.
Yeah.
The Steelers are going to reload, but I think they're going to take this year to really mesh. Maybe we might see them play well in the end, make a wild card push, but I can't see them dominating the division. And
Steelers are going to be very good. I think
the Bengals are a mess.
Keep on them. Yo, Bengals are out.
And with AJ out, the Bengals are a complete mess. I don't see any diamonds in the rough there. So right now, I think it's Cleveland's division to lose. What is your number for them wins-wise that you need to see from them this year? What is your like floor?
Yeah. So I don't think anyone's going to run away with the division. I think obviously the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns will be very tight, very close games. You know, and I could even see us splitting both of those games, which we did last year. Or no, we tied the Steelers week 1. But I have the Browns at around 10 to 11 wins, optimistically 11. The schedule gets kind of hard. They have some really tough road games. I think they have to go like to New England. They have to go to Seattle. Like they have a pretty tough road schedule. But yeah, you know, I think that they will win the conference and
division or conference.
Or I'm sorry, division.
I was going to say conference. That's
no. Yeah. No, and look, I mean, any playoff game for this team, I think it'd be their first playoff like experience since like 2007.
Since
I could be wrong on that.
As a franchise in Cleveland, I don't think you guys have been in the playoffs since Cleveland re-established themselves as a franchise.
No, and you know what? So I'm 27. They've played one playoff game my entire life. That's actually a fact, and I think it was 2007.
Wow.
But I could be wrong on that. But yeah, like one playoff game. So like for this team, there's a lot of expectation. But like I feel like fans and like, you know, diehard fans need to take a step back and realize that we were a winless team just 2 years ago. You know, I mean, a winless team, 0 wins, and now you're talking about winning the division. So, you know, I think fans need to kind of fall back a little bit. Let's see how the season unfolds. I think they're super young. They're super talented, which could cause some problems. There's almost too much talent. Like who's going to touch the ball? You know, you've got 4 or 5 Pro Bowl guys off the top of their offense. So there's definitely going to be a lot of game plan. And I think Freddie Kitchens will do a great job because when he took over as head coach and he started calling the plays, Baker was, you know, 5-2 in his last 7 games. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely optimistic and like 11 wins would be amazing. So yeah, I have them around there.
That is optimistic and that's good. But I do have to say one thing before we move on to our next topic. Cleveland fans are not allowed to be depressed anymore because the Indians have been good for the last, you know, they haven't been able to get over the hump. They lost in the World Series ago, but Cleveland Indians have been good and they've been in the hunt. The Cavs have a championship. The Browns are now getting good. No more crying in Cleveland. No more depression. No more. Cleveland is not allowed to do that anymore. You guys are becoming a good, really good sports town again. So I won't accept Cleveland fans being sad. I won't hear it.
That's fair. But we did have 53 years of no titles.
Get over it. You're playing well. Get over it.
The longest drought. I know. And losing in Game 7. But you know what? The Indians have been good for most of my life. So I've been lucky for that. They've been in many World Series.
And you have the movie Major League, so I don't want to hear anything.
We had Major League, and and I mean, we also had the greatest basketball player ever. He's ours. He's not a Laker. He's not a Heat. He's a Cav. That's what he's going to retire.
Either 1 or 1A, because Michael Jordan is at least tied.
Michael Jordan's a Bull. LeBron's a Cav. LeBron's not a Laker. For all these fake Laker fans out there, I have a lot of them. because I train in Chula Vista now. So I hear this shit every day from fake Laker fans. You know, like I have friends who are born and raised in Mississippi who are, now they're diehard Laker fans. Now they are because LeBron's there. So that kind of rubs me some type of way. But you know what? It's all in good nature, man. It's all in good nature.
So we're going to touch on this topic pretty quick because we're going to have to roll out in a little bit. But I want to talk, you mentioned soccer. You mentioned the Americans' love affair or lack thereof a love affair with soccer. One thing I've been noticing is the MLS, and I've said this on other podcasts, it keeps expanding. And you don't expand unless you're making money. So that just tells me that the American fan is slowly gravitating towards soccer, especially in the Northwest, Portland, and Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders are rocking every single game. LAFC is doing well. NYFC and the Red Bulls are typically pretty good in terms of fan-wise. Orlando's not bad. Atlanta's doing well. Like, there is a lot of clubs doing well right now. Mm-hmm. I foresee it taking over hockey and possibly, if baseball doesn't fix themselves, overtaking baseball in terms of overall popularity. Well, baseball's really bold. Baseball's a distant third right now to basketball.
Baseball's America's pastime, and it always will be. It is. No, it 100% is. That is really, I mean, that's by far the oldest sport in America. You know, it's been played over 100 years, and there's just a lot of history in it. Baseball is a dying art. I think they need some type of young, so I don't know if you saw the Reds-Pirates fight last night.
Oh, yeah. Yasiel Puig doing his thing.
Yeah. So, they need more of that. They need more of a young, intense – because hockey, they allow fights. Now, I'm not saying allow them to brawl out in baseball, but baseball is an extremely old-school structure.
But every time you get these guys, like a Bryce Harper, who was young and emotional, they try and curtail him. And then you have Mike Trout, who is an amazing player, but he's the prototypical MLB star that they want. He's quiet. He just does his job. He does it right. Aaron Judge for the Yankees, same exact thing. Pete Alonso now with the Mets, same thing. They're sluggers. They're great players. They do their job, show very little emotion. And that's, to me, like you said, we want these young guys, but we demonize these young guys for baseball fans. They do. They demonize Harper. Puig got demonized left and right. Emotion is a bad thing in baseball, and I feel like that is what is killing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the old school way of thinking. Like, look, I think over time it will start to weed, the older generation, because, I mean, baseball is just a very old sport. There's a lot of old people running it, not to bash on MLB or anything, but there's just a lot of catching up to do. And then you look at the personalities in the NFL, in the NBA, people gravitate to them. Like, Odell is a worldwide icon. He's not just big in the States, but it's because of what he does. Like, he's dancing, like he's so personable, he's different. He has blonde hair. People just see and look at him as a different football player. And when I look at baseball, I don't see a lot of different players. Bauer was one of those guys. I was a big fan of Bauer. He was just different. He would rattle off on Twitter. He had all these rules, that he would tell his manager, and he's chucking the ball over the center field fence. That's a refreshing, that's a refreshing thing. It's never been done. And I just watched ESPN, and my dad was one of them. He was scolding him he's disrespecting the game. Oh my God! God forbid we disrespect the game that's 100 years old, where people I have friends who are super big sports fans, super big, that know more about sports than I do, who probably can't even name 20 baseball teams that can't name more than 5 players in the MLB right now, which is sad. But that's a lack of personality. It's like a lack of excitement. It's just all that. And, and I mean, the NBA and the NFL has nothing but characters in it, just characters up and down the board.
And so does soccer. And the thing is, and that's the thing, soccer, they score a goal, they celebrate for 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You hit a home run, you're supposed to put your head down and basically apologize to the pitcher in baseball.
I know.
You could do your thing, and you learn these personalities. And the game, yes, it can be slow, but it's not slower than baseball. And I think if you understand, and you said you're a soccer fan, so when you learn soccer and you're watching it, it's not that slow. All the little mini battles going on every time the ball's there is exciting.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and I think that, like I said, I think the MLS is growing in popularity. The fans are growing. The deal with ESPN is great. And I just think it's going to keep going. Now the NWSL has a deal with ESPN, and I'm excited to see that because I've been pushing, and I used to have a blog, and I did write an article on basically the NWSL had to deal with Lifetime for a little while. I think it was the last 3 years, and the numbers were atrocious. And I'm annoyed because I'm looking at it, and it is a big deal about, equal pay for women and women's rights and this and that. But where are the women supporting their own? Where are the women supporting? They yell about this equality, but then where are the women watching the women's soccer? Because you know what? Not to be mean, most men, there are going to be your diehard sports fans that watch it, but most men aren't watching men's soccer. Why are they going to watch women's soccer?
No. And you know what? I think it goes back to, so not everybody grew up playing soccer in this country that can kind of appreciate it like you and I can. A lot of people grew up playing football because it rivals soccer in the fall. So I had tons of friends who never even touched soccer. So they don't have an appreciation. And then, I'll like watch a game with them and I'll try to get them into it and it'll go 90 plus minutes and they'll end in a 0-0 tie. That has got to end. That has got to end. If there is a tie, dude, a tie is like kissing your sister. You never, it's literally the worst thing in sports. There's not even a tie in high jump. There's not a tie in running. There's not a tie in long jump. There should not be a tie in sports. Go to a penalty shootout. I've always been a fan of 8v8, no offsides. I think it would make the game a lot more interesting.
Now that would also buck the international rules and the way it's played. And I think that since we're a lesser league, we're trying to really get in there. Listen, we're a D league. We're worse than the Mexican league. The Mexican league still isn't a great league, but it has a higher standing around the world. We're a G league. We really are. Ibrahimovic is a great player and he dominates, but he can go back to Europe and he'll just be okay and he'll be an aging star there. We get aging stars and they dominate. But now one of my issues is one of our great stars, Christian Pulisic, over at Chelsea scores a goal in an exhibition today, playing on the first team. Yeah. Why are we not keeping our own talent here? What is that? I think that's a big issue too. Our biggest names all go across the pond. We need to be keeping that talent here, and if we ever want to compete at all.
Yeah, I mean, we are fighting an uphill battle because soccer. If you start listing the sports, I mean, NFL, NBA, MLB, which we've talked about, obviously is at the top. But over in Europe, it's like a religion over there. Like, and obviously that's where the money is going to be. So that's where our good players are going to go. But I just feel like, there's not a lot of youth development in this country on the men's side specifically. I feel like we just don't do a great job of developing our talent, and we're never good as a country. I will tell you, if our men's team gets good in the World Cup, it will blow up. It will take over the world.
Well, we thought that when we finished third, and that I think it was when me and you were both young. We finished third in the World Cup, and we thought the same thing then. And that's also when the Cosmos were really good, and then they turned the Metro Stars, and they were good, and we had good players, and the MLS was fledgling, and then it floundered. So I don't know if being great in the World Cup is really going to translate. And I think the MLS has a good model. They're growing, they're expanding, they're using their superstardom like David Beckham and stuff to
they are definitely grabbing a lot of European stars, way more than they have, in the past decade per se, which definitely gets eyes and people hear about it, but then it just kind of fizzles out because we know they're at the end of their career. We know they're at the end of their rope. So it's kind of like, it's just kind of like a circus show. He's going to come to LA and get X amount of dollars per year and dominate the league, which is embarrassing because Ibrahimovic is old and like David Beckham, these guys are old. Like they're not relevant in Europe, just as you stated before. So it's definitely a problem. But growing up, like I lived in Tampa for about 6 years, and in soccer there is obviously very big. And I grew up a Tampa Bay Mutiny fan, so I was into Valderrama, like Mamadou Diallo, like I was really like I grew up, but I was a huge soccer fan. I loved playing the game of soccer. I love playing football, but I'm like, okay, bigger field, more room, like the game never stops. Okay, I'm going to dominate this sport because I'm going to run around you. I'm going to jump over you. Like, I'm going to do all the things. And like football, like, was a stop and go. Like, you know, it was like sometimes I would get the ball. Like, sometimes I wouldn't. Like, I like the fast-paced play of soccer more, but it's just, you know, I mean, we're just an NFL country, man. We're just a football first, which is it's always going to be an uphill battle for the MLS, always.
Yeah, but you know, I'm optimistic that the MLS can take foot, and I think it's going to overtake hockey, sadly enough, which is a great sport. But Gary Bettman needs to leave if they want a chance of hockey making it. Gary Bettman's one of the worst commissioners in sports.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to overtake him, and I don't know. Watch out for the MLB. Watch it. I made that prediction that in 20 soccer is going to be one of our top 3 popular sports.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Now, I think the only thing wrong with baseball is the 162 games. That's just too much. It's just the games don't mean anything. But there is nothing quite like playoff baseball. Nothing can simulate it.
I think
not the NFL playoffs, not the NBA playoffs.
Hockey might be the only one that challenges.
Yeah,
Stanley
maybe,
Cup playoffs
but,
are unbelievable.
Yeah, MLB is so good because it's a one-on-one battle. Like it really is a dual battle. And in playoff baseball, you've played 162 games, so like those games mean everything. Like you've poured your whole season into just getting to that point. So I feel like playoff baseball always kills in the ratings. It always just phenomenal. Like Fox does a great job with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that's people only watch in October.
See, I have a different view on shortening seasons in both baseball and basketball. I think we need to toughen up the players again. But that's just me. That could be a whole other podcast on what can be done, because I just think that we're soft and we need to get tougher again. But that's just me. And unfortunately, Corey, this podcast has to come to a close. I had lots of fun, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise. This was awesome. You know, this was obviously one of my first times doing a podcast. So, you know, thank you.
I hope I set the bar high here.
Yeah, no, well, you know, I had gone on your Twitter and saw you interviewed like Maurice Green. I'm like, oh my God, like Maurice Green, like that's the guy who's
dream come true.
With like a fire extinguisher. Yeah, like that was one of my first favorite track athletes. Because and look, you know, this kind of ties into what we were talking about. He did something different. He took his gold spikes off after the 60-meter and sprayed them with a fire extinguisher. Like that's something that I remembered. So that like really got me into the sport. I was like, I want to be like Maurice Green. I want to wear gold spikes and like, you know, run so fast I have to spray him with a fire extinguisher. It's little things like that that gets kids intrigued. Like, you know, guys like Bryce Harper, guys like, you know, Puig, guys who are just out of the box characters, and that's been lacking in MLB. And that's kind of what we've been talking about the last 15, 20 minutes for sure. Kind of ties in. But,
Definitely. And again, this is Corey Crawford. He is a 2020, I'm going to say future Olympian. I'm not even going to say, I said Olympic hopeful in the beginning. He's a 2020 future Olympian, currently training over at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista, and also a former Big Ten long jump champion for the great school of New Jersey, Rutgers.
Scarlet Knights.
Any plugs, social media you want to give where people can follow you, follow your career? What can they get from you there?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Brunswick _bounce. Brunswick, obviously, because Rutgers is in New Brunswick. I actually have to kind of change that. I'll probably change that soon. But yeah, follow me at Brunswick _bounce, or you can follow me on Twitter at Crawford Bounce. I'm on there. I'm on there quite a bit. So yeah, follow me, follow my journey, and I'll be posting leading up to 2020 trials for sure.
Definitely go give him a follow, give him your love too, and let him know that, you know, everyone Sports Opinions is behind him. And if anyone listening is behind Sports Opinions, wherever you are listening from, make sure you give this a nice rating and a review. Ratings and reviews are huge. It pushes us up towards the list so more people can get exposed to this, so they can listen to my fantastic guests like Corey on a week in and week out basis. And again, I'm Alex Cuesta, host of the Sports Opinions podcast. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. Instagram Sports Opinions 30. Visit the Facebook page, and wherever you can hear a podcast, you can hear this podcast. Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, anywhere. Listen to it, give it a listen, give it a rating. And once again, this was the Sports Opinions podcast. Everybody, have a good one.